Well, it's good to be back. We've been on a trip, and we want to share about it. We left on November 11th and got back, the 22nd or 25th?
Whatever Tuesday was.
Tuesday before Thanksgiving. It was a 15-day trip. And our ministry has a motto. It's every neighbor, every nation. And that's based on Matthew 28:19 and 20, which says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always to the end of the age." Now, both aspects of making disciples are important to us, and I think are important to you as well. Both the local and the global. Both every neighbor, making disciples here in the capital region, but also all around the world. And so we really want to equip and empower others in other parts of the world to also do the work of the Great Commission in their own context. And so in our recent trip, we went to two countries. We went to the Philippines and to New Zealand. And this was our team here. It's kind of our goofy shot in the airport before we really got going. Believe it or not, that's us fresh. Before we were overwhelmed with all the hours of travel. As I mentioned, we were gone for 2 weeks, and our initial trip took us from Albany International Airport, which I think might have an occasional flight to Canada, and that's why it says it's international. But we had to fly to Chicago, because that's a real international airport, and then from there to Tokyo, and then from there to Manila is how they say it. Usually in American English, we just say Manila, like the folder. But when you're there, it's Manila. So the way we took actually was through Alaska. This is not an accurate representation. We actually went through Alaska and then down. We took like the curvature of the Earth approach. And this flight, or series of flights and layovers, took over 31 hours. So we left. I picked him up at his house about 4 a.m. I was maybe like 3 minutes late, and he texted me. And so definitely left my house by 4 a.m. And then we didn't get in till about 10 or 11 a.m. the next day. So over 24 hours of continuous travel. And when we got there, we were warmly greeted by these folks here. This is Mabel on the left. She's one of the major leaders in the Philippines. Don't be deceived by her size. She might be small, but she is mighty in faith and mighty in her perseverance over many years. And so that, I don't know if you can read that sign. Maybe you can, maybe not. It says Sean Paul, and then underneath William, and then Sean Caleb. We had to give them our passports, and so they were going by like passport names, throwing our middle names in there.
Williams is Wills, which is his middle name is too long, so
his middle name was Alexander, so they couldn't fit him on the sign. So
that's why it's not on there.
Yeah, but I'm glad we didn't have to go by Sean Paul and Sean Caleb in the Philippines. So the Philippines is a nation of 7,641 islands. We visited two. But, it's better than nothing, right? And it has a population estimated at 114 million people. The Metro Manila area has about 13.5 million people in Metro Manila. For context, New York City, just counting the 5 boroughs, is 8.2 million. So Metro Manila is pretty big. If you throw Long Island in, New York, the greater New York area is bigger. But come on, everyone knows Long Island's not the city. So anyhow, Manila proper, Sean pointed this out to me, is the most densely populated place on Earth. The center of Manila, 43.6 thousand people per square kilometer.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
It's a lot. Whatever it means, according to Google.
We don't know what that means.
Whatever that means, Gaza City, which has made news quite a bit for being so densely populated, is, this is according to Google, is a quarter the density of what Manila is. And that's second. So Manila has them beat by far as population density goes. And you feel it.
Yeah, you feel
You
it.
cannot move.
Yeah.
They are packed.
Yeah. And it's an interesting mix in Manila too, because you have these high-rise, very modern buildings, and then you have shacks, and they're all just like mixed in together with each other. And the question becomes like, how do you move these people? Behold, the jeepney and the tricycle. You want to take this one?
My favorite part about the jeepneys is, unfortunately, we really didn't get that many pictures of them, but you can see there, I don't know if you can see, they all have, about 90% of them have these plates on them, and they almost all say some sort of biblical, this one's blessings of God, and another one, I tried to capture a bunch of them, went too far. But a lot of them had some sort of Christian, giving glory to God saying on them, which was pretty cool to see throughout the city. I mean, the country is very Catholic, so that's why it is that way. But
about 79, 80% Catholic in the Philippines. On the right, that's their taxi. It's called a tricycle. It's a motorbike attached to a carriage. It looks like it would fit one person, but I've heard that it fits.
They told us over and over again that would fit 5 of us.
So yeah, I'm going to show you a picture later.
The key was us. It wasn't as far as them. It would fit.
7 of them.
One American. And
of the Filipinos.
the key was that they were using
small.
self-identifying.
Yeah, they are
There's
small.
no way it would fit.
So jeepneys are old World War II jeeps that were left behind and have been like extended and modified.
It looks like you could. I think most of them you would see had about 20 plus people in them.
Yeah. Looks like it could fit about 12, somewhat uncomfortably, but yeah, they put 20 in.
And those just take the same route day over day. So
It's a cheap way.
You'd have to really know how to operate them, but you just hop on and it goes and it takes the same route, so you have to know which one to go on.
Something else we noticed were the electrical wires were not according to what we're used to as far as code. When you need a new wire, you just put a new wire up.
That being said, Arjun, who was the one actually holding the other picture in there, who is Mabel's son-in-law, made sure to send me, when we got home, a newspaper article indicating that the Meralco, which is their electric company, is set to start moving them underground.
Oh.
So they're redoing all the infrastructure. The Philippines, especially in Manila, are very aware of the electrical grid.
Yeah. Yeah. So while we were there in Manila, we stayed in a very nice modern hotel with electricity and internet access, and it was a very pleasant experience. We're very, very blessed to be there. Our first night, or after traveling the next day, we went to a fellowship in San Juan. San Juan is like a borough of Manila. It's a densely populated area. We went to Joseph and Carol's house, and this is a group picture of the fellowship we had there at their house. I taught on Elijah, Brother Elijah, who met God on Mount Sinai and said he wanted to quit. And God said, I don't think so. I got more work for you. So gave him some encouragement there. And we also had dinner there. And what was that fish that we had? Bangus?
Bangus. We definitely did not pronounce it correctly, but it's
bangus is close
it's
to
close
what
enough.
yeah.
But it's a dried, it's like a white fish, but dried and then pan-seared in vinegar and garlic. It was very good.
This is something else interesting. We also had Krispy Kreme at this house, which was really delightful.
On our way there, we saw a Krispy Kreme. We're like, oh, Krispy Kreme. Sean and I have a tradition that if we are outside of New York, we find Krispy Kreme.
If we see it, we go.
We go.
Like, we pull over, whatever.
And when
we usually take a picture too.
And when Mabel found that out, she also loves Krispy Kreme. So we had Krispy
does,
Kreme probably 5-6+ times.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It
was a lot. Yeah, we had Krispy Kreme donuts. We had hot black coffee and bangus.
Yeah.
And then I shucked a prawn myself. The whole thing. Like in this country, they just leave the part on the tail. There, they just leave the whole thing. So you're really doing a lot of finger work. And it's all like buttery and wet, and so it's really hard to peel off, especially without getting it all over your pants. So I got it done, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And then like you see one of them do it, and there's like 2 moves with a spoon, and they're done. I'm like, how'd you do that? Then the next night we went to a place called Nueva Ecija, which is the birthplace of Ma Bell, and it's where her brother still lives. Was that like 3 hours north or something like that?
It's hard to tell because there was so much construction. It took quite some time.
It takes like an hour just to get out of the city.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe if you
really hard to know how long
took a
it
helicopter, it'd be like 5 minutes. But yeah, it took us 3-4 hours. And so while we were there, we were at her brother's estate, and he had built there a kubo. And this is a traditional Filipino home. And this one will fit like basically a table, and we sat in it to eat our dinner. But that's actually what they used to live in. And Ma Bell said that there were like 8 kids living in this thing that was even smaller than this one.
Yeah, you see them all over the side of the road. They're kind of like gazebos now, but that is their traditional, what they used to live in the farm country. Yeah, Ma Bell said she grew up in one with 6 kids, and it was about half. Yeah. I think she said it was about half the size of the one we were in, which was small. And so it was. Think of our Western frontiersmen in their single-family homes, but make it way smaller.
Yeah. All right, and so this is a shot of our second night of fellowship. Was at this place called Nueva Ecija, and that is, where is it? Yeah, in front of me, I think, is her brother. Is that him?
No.
He
is.
He's around there somewhere. He might be taking the picture, actually. No, he's okay. So to the left or to the right of Will. Yeah,
to the
right of Will. That's Joseph. This is his place, and he named it Juliana's Private Resort after his daughter Juliana. This is the sort of thing like in America you do if like your kid dies, but like then Juliana actually showed up later in the night, and I'm like, oh, so she's like, this is not like a memorial. It's just really like a highly honored child who gets like the whole place named after her.
She's the Joseph. She got the coat of many colors.
Yeah,
the rest of the siblings.
Yeah, I don't know about the other siblings. They don't have places named after them, I guess. And then for the weekend, we went up to Bacnotan, which is right on the ocean there, and that took another several hours travel to get there. So you can see Manila in the south, and so we're way up on the northwest here at this point. And it made, since it's on the ocean, it made for a really nice background for our teachings. So this is me teaching here, and you can see the ocean in the background. We were supposed to be in the building on the left, which had air conditioners in it. Would have been really nice. But the power supply from wherever it comes from wasn't strong enough to do the lights and the air conditioners. It was just barely enough for lights. So, and they said it wasn't normally like this, but I don't know. So there was no air conditioning. The pictures don't really communicate the humidity. So I just want you to imagine that, yeah, it looks pretty, but like plus 100% humidity, okay? And I think it was maybe like in the 80s pretty much every day, but then when you calculate the humidity, it was at 99 degrees, pretty much.
Being on the ocean, you would think there's a breeze, and there was.
Sometimes.
For very brief periods of time.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much.
It was a little warm. And this is a shot of Will teaching. Will's a pastor in Kentucky that came with us. This is a candid shot from behind the plants. I guess you were kind of sneaking around in the back, taking that shot there. And here's a group photo of the folks who came to the camp. Because travel's so difficult in Manila, they'd rather go to a place together rather than have to travel home at night, every night. So that was the idea. We all traveled way up north to this site, and they rented it out, and these are all the different folks from the Manila church that joined together. I don't think the Nueva Ecija people came to this
Well, and
event.
some of them are from a lot further. Being in Pablo, we're from much further south than Manila. So a lot of them were actually kind of spread out. So, you know, just like we have our camps and bring people together, they used this opportunity to do that as well. And a lot of them came from, you know, we had a long trip, but some of them had significantly longer.
Yeah. Yeah, in the van, it's a little difficult for us Americans because the leg room is just not, it's not what you would expect, like this much. So you've got to have your knees up, or you've got to just kind of be turned sideways the whole time. And sometimes your head can hit the ceiling, even though it's a pretty tall ceiling. But you get on some of these bounces, these bumps, it'll launch you.
I've never been elevated off a seat as high as I was.
Yeah.
Our driver Tony was phenomenal, but on the way back, you'll see here in the next slide or so, that's the West Philippine Sea, which is what we were on there.
Yeah, we did get to go swim in the ocean there for a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
We got about a 45-minute break for the whole weekend.
It's a black sand beach. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And then here's the typhoon
So
picture.
the big thing here was while we were there is for the first time in the recorded history, they had 4 mega typhoons coming in on the island. So while we were there, and this was a big. Actually, I don't. Maybe you were aware. I was not even aware that this was happening. Until they start talking about it, and so they were talking about it, and Mabel and all the members of the church there were praying pretty heavily that it would not impact everything we were trying to do while we were there, and almost everything moved.
Yeah,
while we were there,
fine.
we never were impacted by the typhoons, and it was a huge deal because. But we did, yeah. So that was awesome. But the east side of the island was significantly hit, but where we were was never touched, except we did leave our camp where we were in Bacnatan early, so we crammed it all in one day, basically. And everyone was out by 5:30 a.m.,
yeah.
starting to head back south, because Bacnatan, where we were, was literally the eye of the storm, and it did hit. So we were not impacted. We got out early enough.
Yeah, we got down to the city, and the typhoon was on. But a typhoon, when you're not at the center of it, it's just a little bit of wind and some rain. It wasn't a big deal where we were because we made it out.
But that was really God working with that to help to mitigate that and not create any problems with it. And as a result, though, our driver Tony, he was definitely driving faster than he had driven before, and. Like I said, I've never been lifted out of my seat quite as high as I was lifted out of my seat.
Something else we learned about was how you handle yourself when you don't have insurance and you get hit by another vehicle, which happened. And somebody was trying to scooch around us because the lanes are more like suggestions in the Philippines. And so if there's space, you go. And a guy tried to swoop around us and boom, nailed the side mirror. And so both vehicles stopped. Both drivers got out. They had some heated exchange of words. And then the other vehicle drove away. We can't understand them anyhow because everything's in Tagalog. We only speak English. So we know they're not happy because, you can tell by the sign language, like some gestures. And then all of a sudden, Tony starts driving like a madman. And we're going like 50, 60 miles an hour. And we're zooming through intersections. You remember this? And
this was in Manila.
Yeah, and there's all these other cars, and it was crazy. And then all of a sudden, we find the other vehicle. So he was chasing him down. Of course, none of this is communicated to the Americans. We're just sitting in the back. Like, I was in the front. Oh, you were in the front. You knew what was going on. I had no idea. I was like, wow, this is really kind of fast. So we chased the guy down, and we got him to pull over again. And then Tony, this time his wife got out. And when Adele, his wife,
who was in the first
another
picture,
Adele, when she got out, it was serious. Because she knew the owner of the company whose truck it was. And she was saying to them, no, you're going to fix this. You're going to pay for this. And they worked it all out to their satisfaction, and then we drove on to the next thing.
That being said, they're great drivers. Every car was new and clean, even though they are best I could say is picture everyone's seen probably a movie in India. Like, everyone is just that tight. Yeah. But every car was probably less than 5 years old, and every car was in clean, good condition. So except
for the jeepneys.
They're
like armored, so they can handle the hits.
They're good drivers as far as they.
All right. So then we came down to Manila, and then we went to the part of Manila called Quezon City. It's just like another borough where they had their church, their worship center is what they call their church. Here's another shot of Ma Bell in her house. Her house and the worship center are part of the same property. She lives on one side and then the other side, as you can see in this video here. I don't need audio for this video, guys. That's her house right there, and then this side is the worship center. It's a 3-story building, and it has an air conditioner that works, which is a big deal, and then it has a rooftop. So let's go inside, take a look. So on the first floor, we have a sitting area. You can see the buildings are constructed to withstand hurricanes and stuff like that. A lot of cement, a lot of metal, stuff like that. Then there's this extra room here, little eating area, but also that's the bathroom. I just passed by there. Nice modern bathroom. This bathroom was great. The toilet had a seat on it. So that is pretty nice. Also had toilet paper. So yeah, real nice bathroom there. This is the main meeting space on the second floor. You can see in here, they've got these white chairs and all decked out for Christmas. One of them told me they decorate in September, which I was like...
They have no Thanksgiving, so Thanksgivings are, you don't do Christmas until you do things. They don't have it, so they just do Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas
Their
is a big
Christmas
deal.
was far more extravagant than it is here.
But like as a New Yorker, you can't do Christmas warm. It's supposed to be cold, so for us it didn't feel like Christmas. It felt like summer with Christmas decorations, which was kind of weird. This is the rooftop here, and she's thinking about doing some work on that for the children to meet up there. That is, I don't know what that is. That's a rooftop.
It's just the rooftop.
I don't know whose rooftop that is. So she's showing me where the Children's Fellowship currently meets. They meet in the courtyard at this little table down here. It wasn't Sunday when we were there, so there wasn't actually a service happening. That's her house. That's the roof of her house. All metal roofs, typically. And then on the other side is where her sister lives, and I'll show her rooftop, I think, in a second. That's a little roofed area on the top. Yeah, so this is what the street looks like, right? That's her sister's house right there, the orange-looking roof. And then that's what the street looks like. And I think while I was taking this, a dog came up and relieved himself. No, well, maybe you missed it, but oh, there it is, just walking around. Oh, there we go. I didn't notice that when I took the video originally. I was like, wow, look at that, a dog just dropping it. All right, so I also performed a wedding at the worship center. This is Joseph and Carol, the couple who owned the house that the first fellowship was at in San Juan. And the wedding was attended by people, but also Sushi, the dog. This is Ma Bell's dog, and this is interesting because like usually Sushi dressed up, wearing like a pink dress.
Yeah.
But for the wedding, she was just wearing a T-shirt, so I don't know.
I'm actually glad you caught the dog in the previous video because we like dogs in America, but they
Love dogs.
But yet they still have the stray dogs, so it's this odd kind of mixture. But they love their pet dogs. It's kind of
yeah. And I can't stress enough. There's working air conditioning in this room. This room is a good room. You want to go to church because the church, they had it set at 18 degrees Celsius, which is just like unbelievably nice when it's so humid outside. So this is our driver, Tony, in the middle there. How did you get it to zoom in? Oh, there we go. There's Tony, Tito Tony, as we like to call him. Tito is what you call all the older men, and Tita is what you call all the older women. I think it means uncle and aunt.
Yeah.
You have to be 60 to get the Tito or the Tita. So best we could do was Kuya, which is brother, or Ate is sister, but we couldn't get the Tito. My dad is a Tito. My mom is a Tita. Whole nother level over there. So then we took a trip down to Mindanao, the island in the south, from up north there. I think it was, Google's estimating an hour and 50 minutes. Google's being optimistic here. I think it might have been 2.5 or 2 hours.
I think it might have been about 2 hours actually.
Yeah.
By the time we were in there.
Yeah. So we went to the southern island and we stayed at Davao City in Mindanao. We were shocked at how nice it was. We spent 2 nights there. Very modern city, very nice. And then in the morning, we traveled to Napnapan, and that is about 3-hour drive.
3 hours, yeah.
So from Davao City all the way to Napnapan is just going around the bay there. And when we got there, we visited a church there, physical church building led by Pastor Jonathan. And so there's a shot of him. And he's just bringing some of the folks home after church. It's raining. I don't know if you can see the water on the bike. But yeah, why couldn't you fit 1, 2, 3, 4 people on a small scooter? Why not? With no helmets.
In flip-flops.
In flip-flops, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just another day. So that's Pastor Jonathan there. And here is Bang.
Bang.
Maybe you could tell about her.
So the church here in Naptapan was, we didn't really quite know what we were going to exactly in one sense.
We know it was out in the country.
We didn't really, unfortunately, the pictures don't do it justice. We literally were driving through a banana plantation for 20 minutes, or 15 minutes. Yeah. And this church is in the middle of a banana plantation. And so these are all banana trees around here. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Bang has been working with the Pastor Jonathan at this church. She was originally in Manila, and she was a neighbor of Mabel. And Mabel, she ran a storefront in front of Mabel's house. And in that 3-year time period, I think it was, Mabel was working with her, going through the Bible. And some things happened that caused her to need to move back to her original hometown, is my understanding. And as a result, that was about 12 years ago. And as a result of that, kind of something that was unfortunate that had to happen in her personal life that put her in a position that she needed to move home, put her actually in this position to now speak to this pastor over the past, I'm not sure how long, and she converted him to a one God kingdom belief in the process, and now they're going through that. And we thought we were more like in the sense of going to continue to answer questions, things like that, but they really seemed on board already.
Yeah,
there were no questions. I mean, they are.
We opened it up for questions a couple times,
and they're like, "We get it. We have no questions."
They're like, "Yeah."
And so that was awesome.
So this is about I don't know. There I think 28 people in this picture. I think when I counted them, but some of them are us and our folks that we brought with us from Manila. Manila is an urban, very sophisticated place. And so bringing them down to the country was kind of funny too, for us to see them a little uncomfortable. Like one part we took a walk into the jungle, and one of our team members from Manila was just like, I don't want to walk in that, there's no sidewalks there, and she didn't want to get her shoes wet.
There's some equivalent of taking someone from maybe New York City and bringing them down to some southern city where it's a little more rugged. It was they're funny. Both cities, they're both there doing what they're doing, but different ways of life.
And we also found a drum set there. And so that's Kuya Sean on the left. So I kind of went by Pastor Sean, and he went by Kuya Sean, and that's just how we told the difference. And then Will was Pastor Will. This here is Rizalina Arevalo, but she went by Sally.
Thank God.
So that made it a little easier. She was the main worship leader, and she played the guitar, and she sang, and her husband also sang with her. I didn't have him in this shot. Arnell, but she's one of the main leaders there, along with Ma Bell and a couple of others, Tito Eugene, and
who was also there
probably one or two others.
Naptapan with us as well.
Yes, he was. So after we left that, we went to the airport and then flew back to Manila, to their home, and at that point we left the Philippines. But before we did, before we go to New Zealand next in the slides here, I want to play for you a welcome video, or a video greeting. And so I want to cue the people in the back there They're going to get this to work in just a second. But these are the folks that are really coordinating a lot. Well, some of them at least. And go ahead if you guys have that.
Hi, Living Hope family! Mabuhay! We would like to say thank you, Pastor Shan, Pastor Will, and Kuya Shan.
We're so blessed to have you here in the Philippines.
We've learned so much, and thank you again for inspiring to live to serve and serve to live.
To the rest of the family, we really hope to meet you all personally.
We send our love to everyone from your Living Hope family here in the Philippines.
We
Love
love
you and God bless!
So,
Go back to that real quick.
yeah, that, go ahead. You want to?
Yeah, so I mean, just a quick introduction. So Mabel is the one in the middle there. And then on the bottom left is Jay or Jao, who is Mabel's son. And then Des is on the bottom right, which is his fiance. They are, I think, getting married next December. And then on the top, we have John is on the top right here. And then Arjun is her husband, who is on the top left. And who he is holding, which was awesome while we were there, is Gummy, who we have been praying for. And
So Gamalia was a very, very premature baby, and she was in the hospital pretty much the whole time we were there. Jana that's the mother on the right, top right there. She was in tears, just not sure if she could even come to the camp for the weekend, and she goes to the hospital every day, her and her husband Arjun, very, very good parents of this little tiny baby. They go to the hospital every day. It's only about 15 minutes from their home, and they visit their daughter. And so she, in faith, went to the camp for the weekend. And Arjun stayed, and he continued to visit the daughter. But before we went to the camp, they had us come to the hospital. And I was able to go in. Only one person could go in. I was able to go in, and they put a gown on me and sanitized me or whatever, and covered my beard. And I went in there, and I was able to pray for her, to pray for Gamalia in the hospital. She had been in there. She had had surgery, serious abdominal surgery, and she's just hanging on to life. This kid is just tough. And so then after we left, I think it was after we left, she was dismissed from the hospital. You can see she's now home with her parents. So it's just incredible rejoicing. And something else on this I want to mention is that a few weeks ago, we had a specific prayer for this little baby. And if you remember, our sister Adele prayed for her. A very powerful prayer, if you remember. When we went back, they watched that. And they said that prayer was life-changing for them. And so we believe prayer works here at Living Hope, and we've seen it. So really, really cool. So this is a video they recorded a few hours ago and sent to me at 3 a.m. this morning, because we haven't really covered this, but it's literally the other side of the world. So they're when it's day here, it's night there, and it's 12 or 13 hours.
13
right?
hours ahead.
Yeah.
13 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, so it's already tomorrow over there. And we don't need to get into the complexities of that because we need to go to the next leg of our trip, which was to New Zealand. It says in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." This is what Jesus said to his apostles, that he wanted Christianity to spread to the ends of the earth. And when you go to New Zealand, you really feel like you're at the end of the earth. At least for Americans, it feels that way. You're so far that you're actually super close to Antarctica. You're so far south. And
we knew it wasn't close, but we were kind of like, well, we're in the Philippines. We might as well go to New Zealand.
On a globe, it's like
It's another 25 hours. It wasn't. It's not
26. 26 hours
close.
to travel from.
It wasn't close.
Yeah, because we were on the southern island. We had to take a plane to the northern island, and we had to sit for hours in the airport. And then we had to take a plane to Sydney because nobody wants to go to Auckland, New Zealand from the Philippines for whatever reason. So then another layover where I bought a boomerang, which was cool, a real Australian boomerang. And then over to Auckland right here. New Zealand is a country of 2 islands, and it's an interesting place. We went to the town of Cambridge, New Zealand, which is a very nice place. Very different than the Philippines. It was between 80 and 90 degrees, not including the humidity, every day in the Philippines. In New Zealand, it was in the 60s, and it was blue skies and sunny a lot.
We felt like when someone from Texas comes up to New York in our spring,
Yeah.
and we're all in shorts and t-shirts, and it's 50 degrees.
Yeah.
That's how they were all in flip-flops, high shorts, short sleeve, and it was freezing.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
not that warm. It was not that warm.
They were heading into summer, but it
Yeah.
didn't feel like summer to me. So we attended the Unitarian Christian Alliance Conference in New Zealand. The UCA is an organization that I helped to found a few years ago in 2020 or 2019, 2020. And I'll just read to you the short version there, which reads, let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. The one God is the Father alone, and Jesus is his human Messiah, who is now exalted as Lord and Savior. So that's the affirmation or the statement of faith for this organization. Lots of different individuals and churches and denominations all agree on this. And so what happened is we have a map. You can see the map in the bottom right there. And the map is global. So there was a young man in New Zealand called Zach Mayo who was on this website and looking at this map, and he was looking in New Zealand, and he saw these red dots in New Zealand. He said, well, let me get in touch with these people. And so he emailed them and then asked to get their phone number and called them on the phone, and something unthinkable for Gen Z. But anyhow, he called them on the phone, voice call, oh my goodness, and talked to them and said to them, do you know anybody else? And so he really networked the whole of the country of New Zealand and put together a conference. And he thought maybe there would be like 30 people. It ended up being almost 100 people at this event, 90 to 100 people. People came over from Australia. Most of the people were in New Zealand. It was really cool. And I was asked to speak, and so was Pastor Will. Another couple of Americans were there. Dale Tuggy and Mark Kane was there. And another speaker was an Australian named Dave Burke, which I don't think any of you would know, but he comes from another group called the Christadelphians, and he's somebody that I have known for a long time as well. And so it was really a cool event. In attendance there was also Jeff Dybel, the guy whose book we published a year or two ago called Christ Before Creeds. And so it was really cool to meet him in the flesh. Yes, he really looks like that in real life. I didn't take any pictures of him. I don't know why, but that's what he looks like. And he led a workshop while we were there. And so this is a shot of Zach Mayo. I liked him instantly because I'm a mayonnaise guy anyhow. So somebody called Mayo was just going to win. He was always going to win with me. Kuya Sean doesn't like Mayo, so he had to warm up to him. And that's his father-in-law, Vaughn. And these two pictures I took the last night, which was kind of like a time of sharing. And what had happened is Vaughn had heard from his brother. His brother goes to a church maybe 2-3 hours away. And his brother has different beliefs. He believes in the Trinity and all this other kind of mainline stuff. And his brother was telling him about somebody in his church that they had to put under church discipline because he didn't believe in the Trinity. And Vaughn said to his brother, like, can you tell me his name? Like, I'd like to reach out to him and encourage him.
I think this was about a year ago, too.
Yeah, about a year ago. And his brother wouldn't tell him. He's like, no, I don't want you encouraging him because he's in sin. He's going to hell just like you. And, if you don't believe like this, then, So it really disturbed Vaughn. And so he started praying for this guy. And he's like, just praying for him fervently, like that this guy would not be like overwhelmed by being cast out of the church and told he's going to hell and all this. And at this event, the guy showed up. And he didn't know who he was. He never knew his name, didn't know anything, just knew his location. And so Vaughn, during a meal, sat next to the guy, and they start talking, and he says, "Oh, what's your name? Where are you from?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't happen to go to this church?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did until they kicked me out." He's like, Vaughn's like, "I've been praying for you for a year. I can't believe you're here." So it was just like a very emotional, and these are tough guys. The guy on the right is a dairy farmer, runs half marathons for fun. Both his sons run a 5K in 15 minutes. That's 5-minute miles. They ran 10 miles just to get to the conference because they didn't want to take the car. These are tough people. They don't cry. Okay, that's my point. And Zach on the left there is a construction guy. This is him dressed. This is the most dressed up we ever saw him. He still had his flip-flops on. We did get a Living Hope hat on him, but he put sunglasses on it in that shot, so you can't really see it. But really great people, strong, outdoorsy people, right? I don't know if you want to say anything else about that.
No, it's going from the Philippines, everyone's up to here. Everyone in New Zealand is about 6'2" and
They're
skinny. And
Yeah.
no, they're really beautiful people to be around, and God-fearing. I mean, they were awesome to be around. Yeah. Zach was made our time really enjoyable there as well.
So now I'd like to play for you video greetings from Zach and his wife, Kayla. If I could cue the back there.
Hi Living Hope, we are Zach and Kayla May from Cambridge, New Zealand, and we've just had the New Zealand UCA conference over here with Sean and some of the other UCA boards, so thank you so much for letting them come over here to visit us.
Yeah, we're feeling pretty blessed to be able to fellowship with these guys and meet them, so yeah, it's been a real cool experience, and hopefully they get back to you safely.
Yeah, there it is. So these two, Zach and Kayla, are seriously considering starting a church in the Cambridge, New Zealand area. And we don't have any clarity as far as if that is definitely going to happen or what it would look like, but we are very interested in supporting them to be able to do that in the future, and we'll see what develops. It'd be great to have a church there. There were so many people at the event that didn't know each other. And they had just been on this website, this UCA website, and they're like, "Oh, well, maybe something will happen." And then they all get there, they're like, "Oh, I only live 20 minutes down the road. I only live 10 minutes over here." And so people are meeting each other, and so many were from that very local area that I think they really do have the numbers for a church plant.
They had at least 20 plus adults all living within a half an hour of each other, which was awesome.
And lots of kids,
and they've
too.
done some Bible studies, so it's not like they're not doing anything, but they're very interested, and we'll see what we can do to help them, and as far as making something more established. While we were there too, there was also Tito Tony and Tita Tess, who were from the Philippines, and they went as well to the conference, and they also live in this area and have done a Bible study with Zach and Kayla Mayo. So it was really enjoyable to spend time with them after being in the Philippines, and it was a wonderful experience.
Something too about the Philippines is that we see a real potential there for growth over time. Kuya Sean here met with a lot of the young adults. I didn't really put that picture in there, but there's a picture of him with a circle of young adults there, and really kind of, I think, lit a fire under their butts. So we're real excited to see what happens in the Philippines. It's very much a stable community. I would say all in, you could say there's 3 churches. There's the one in the north at Nueva Ecija, and then if you combine all the Manila ones together to the worship center, and then the one on the southern island. And there may be more than that. Those are just the ones that we visited. But we're very eager to see what potential there is in the future as they're kind of at that point where they have the elders and then they have the middle-aged folks, and like the middle-aged folks are more looking to take on responsibility and to do more in ministry.
Yeah, so I'd say overall, as much as it was what we just showed was a little bit of what we were able to do and see, the other bigger thing that we want to convey is how positive of a future that both locations have to become stronger communities that can grow, that can be moving God's word in their local areas, because that's the overall, our main goal was to kind of go and see what's going on, if there's a way that we as Living Hope can grow and to support them from afar. We've been doing this with Will to the best of our ability on the domestic front, and we've had connections to the Philippines for decades now, and we've done a lot with the Congo, and we view Philippines as something else that we can better support and better give aid to as far as helping them to increase what they're doing, and to feel the strength and love that our community here in the U.S. has. And then also to meet Zach and Kayla and the community down there to see what future is there. But overall, this is something that's also important to you and anyone online, which is a lot of the money that is donated to Living Hope, this is what we use it for. A large portion goes to supporting some of these areas that are not as financially stable. The money can go a lot further there. So I think it's really important for you guys to hear that as well, which is, we have our local community here in Latham, but a lot of the finances also go abroad, and they're helping to move these congregations and to help them feel supported and to grow and reach out and to do evangelism and to create more disciples all throughout the world. And that's what we're really, wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of, to see this is how things are happening, and to give you some encouragement to get behind this. And we'd love to be able to create even further connections, I think, for our communities to be able to be tied in even with these people abroad that much more. So really wanted to give that positive feedback. I want to give one thing, tie-in, which is on the local front. One of the hardest things about being there is we can't be there, which is twofold. One is, when we meet new people in our area in the U.S., Timmy, Paul, and everyone, when they go to UCA or something, they talk about, we have these events, we have Family Camp, we have Kingdom Fest, we have Revive, which is coming up. That's my plug for Revive. That's coming up first weekend of January. So for those who are 20s to into their 40s, that's really what that's geared for, and an awesome time to get together. This time it's up at Christ the King, which is about 45 minutes from here. But registration's online, and you should go to that, because that's one of the big things I would tell anyone if I went to any event in the U.S. who is in those age brackets, to better connect with each other. And it's been so foundational for what we at Living Hope have been able to build, and to get a generational shift to keep this thing going that we can grow upon. Revive is the biggest thing, and that was one of the things I was telling the people in the Philippines, is that's what you have to find, is something that helps the younger, not really that young anymore, 20s and 30s, 40s. It's like you have to create something that gets you guys excited to move the word. If without that, it's hard. And so anyway, those who haven't signed up for Revive should do that. But that was one of the hard things to do as far as going abroad, is the things that we put our effort behind. We can't say, just come to our Revive. They're not going to hop on the plane for 60 hours to do that. It's not
30 each way.
30 each way. And but the other big thing is, this is not just to them, but anytime you're in communities that you feel like you have a hard time having direct impact on physically, being with them. One of the things that, which we're going to close with the song Our Father, because I think it's so important that God's going to make everything right in this earth. Right? His kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. That was the part that I think is so important to grasp when you're interacting with especially these communities that are so far away, but still have such a passion for the love of God and what Jesus did on the cross for us, and to move that sometimes you're there and you're like, I see it, I love it, I want to be able to support so much more than I can, but at some point you have to realize God's the one that's in control, and in the end, his kingdom is going to come here, and everything is going to be made right that is currently wrong, which is such a refreshing and concrete feeling to be able to anchor ourselves to, because sometimes it can feel overwhelming to have this interaction with people that you want to help even more, but physically you can't.
Yeah. So then we came home. So this is our trip home. We went through San Francisco on the way home, and that took another, couple of days or whatever, day and a half.
We left Tuesday. Their Tuesday.
We got back the same day we left. But that's because we did the day
Tuesday,
twice.
Yeah, we left Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and we got back Tuesday at 10 o'clock after flying for 26 hours. So.
Yeah. So I don't know how that works, but it was a great trip. We were just so thankful for all your prayers, and we look forward to see what God's doing in these other parts of the world that we're involved with. So let's close in prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the safe travel we were able to have and for our time that we got to spend with these wonderful people that you have called and that you are working with. We just ask that you bless these communities of faith and help them to grow. I pray for us here at the church here in Latham. We just ask that you would bless us as well. Help us to serve you this week and to be able to help others to taste and see that you are good. We pray for your blessing upon us in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.